Welcome back, everybody. The Congress of South African Trade Unions is going to embark on a nationwide strike tomorrow. The Federation of Unions and its affiliates says it'll be protesting against socio-economic factors hurting everyday workers. Cosatu says there's been little response to workers' frustration from both government and the private sector. According to Cosatu, its affiliates have a combined membership of 1.8 million individuals, but many are essential service workers who are prohibited from participating in strikes. To discuss this matter further, we're now joined virtually by Cosatu President Zingiswa Losi. President Losi, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers and listeners of Morning Live. Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, just take us through what your demands are and what do you want the government to do?
The demands that we're working, look, we want the government and the employers to have an appreciation that workers must earn a living wage, that the high levels of unemployment, inequality and poverty in our country cannot continue as things are, that people are living below poverty lines. And therefore, if we want to grow our economy, we have to create jobs. But we also have to pay workers a living wage. Government has to create an environment that would allow and attract investments to our country. But at the bottom of it all, workers need to be paid a living wage, because workers cannot produce things that they cannot consume. Workers are consumers of foreign products that do not generate jobs in our country. So we are calling on government to say that, look, yourself and business, you need to stick to the commitments that you have made during the investment summits and during the job summits. We're not asking more, we're not asking less, but also what we're saying is that government must also raise the social relief distress grant to the food poverty line in October during the medium-term budget policy statement. Also, we are saying to our government that they must extend the presidential employment stimulus to accommodate 1 million active participants by October this year and 2 million in February next year. We also, because workers, we have raised this issue, we're happy that we are in a process towards the finalization. The implementation of the two-pot system in terms of pension reforms. We are saying to government, fast-track that process, ensure that Parliament concludes on this process so that workers can have an access to their pension funds to stabilize their lives at least by March next year. Also, we have witnessed the blockages in the rollout of public infrastructure program, and we're calling for our government to unblock the delays in terms of that. You would have seen that we have been consistent in calling for the intervention in 36 municipalities that are failing to pay their employees. We are saying to government, immediate intervention must take place. These are some of the issues, but also let me just not forget to raise this issue because it's very, very important. We are calling for the government to repeal the Municipal Systems Act clause that is banning over 350,000 municipal workers from holding office in a political party at any level. We think this is unconstitutional.
Now, Zingiswa, remember that Cosatu's last day of action just under a year ago did not cause significant disruption to the economy as it was poorly attended by workers. I mean, we're still where we are last year. Jobs are still being shared, the cost of living is still high, and the salaries did not match the cost of living. Like, there's no particular difference. Do you have a new strategy this time around?
Look, Cosatu has been consistent in how we have raised issues. If you want to raise issues, you apply for Section 77 on socio-economic issues, and then you are able to go on the strike. We must have an appreciation, as you have said when you were opening, that other workers are essential services, but also workers are having unstable jobs. This is part of the reason that Cosatu is embarking on the strike. But the fact that members of Cosatu, through their affiliates, have responded to this call, it tells us that workers are relating to the issues that we are raising.
But the consistency in articulating matters clearly isn't working for you.
Look, we are not the only ones that are raising these issues. You would have seen and firstly understand that Cosatu has raised the issue of the basic income grant over a decade ago. We have been consistent on when we raised the issue of the social distress grant that government has introduced during the COVID. It was because Cosatu put it on the table. Now we have it. Cosatu also said to a government that you must increase it, but you must not stop it. It has been continuing. We also said to government that you must put it towards the poverty line and ensure that it forms the basis of the basic income grant. Listen to what other NGOs are raising now in our country. They are raising the same issues that Cosatu has been consistent in raising. And what we appreciate is that by our actions, we have too many voices in South Africa now on these issues. Civil society is standing up on the very same issues that Cosatu has been consistent in raising upon. It therefore means that it is not necessarily about how many workers are going out on strike. It's about whether civil society and the people of this country are hearing us what we are saying. As a result of that, you are having others finding understanding the issues that Cosatu are raising, but also saying we are in agreement with what the Federation is raising. We continue to raise these issues. For us, we're a federation that is not just on the street. We are at NETLEC, we are in Parliament, we continue to raise alternative policy proposals. Because if you are not going to if you are consistent going to be on the street, but when it comes to alternatives on policy interventions, you are found wanting, change is not going to happen. We have seen change on a number of issues. We have seen interventions that government is implementing in business because of alternative policy proposals that Cosatu has tabled at the level of Parliament and at the level of NETLEC. So we are not going to always measure ourselves in terms of a response after a strike, which is important, but it's going to be about other sides of struggle. What is it that we are doing? Are we at NETLEC? Are we in Parliament? Are we raising these issues? Are we participating when government is having the public programs, when they are busy engaging on policy interventions with the public? Cosatu is always in all sides of struggle. That is why we are able to see interventions on issues that we're raising. But of course, we must be consistent in our action, be on the boardroom, in the boardroom, but also be on the streets. You have to be found on all two sides.
And besides taking to the streets then, have you engaged government on what needs to be done? I mean, the ANC has widely been blamed for the country's social and economic ills, and you are in a partnership with the ANC, which the very same party that has been blamed and the very same party that you're protesting against, as it were. So what's the level of engagement have you had with the ANC, both at tripartite level and at government level?
As I've said that we are at NETLEC, we have raised some of these issues. The fact that now we are talking about the 1st of March 2024 in terms of the two-pot system on pension fund, it is because of the interventions that we have made politically and also at the level of NETLEC and in government through the ANC.
Yeah.
The fact that today we have the social relief distress grant, it started during COVID when we were having an Alliance Political Council, when Cosatu, during the Alliance meeting, we raised these issues. And now we spoke to them at the level of NEDLAC, and it is sitting in Parliament, but also government is already implementing. People are accessing the 350 social relief distress grant. We are calling and we are engaging politically and also at the level of government for that to be increased. So those engagements are continuous, are consistent, but we must also understand that the ANC is a contested terrain. Workers must contest the ANC at the policy space. It is not going to happen because we're in alliance with the ANC. Remember, the membership of the ANC consists of workers, consists of communists, consists of capitalists, consists of all forms of people in South Africa. It depends on who is in majority and who is able to influence the ANC and also influence the policy direction. That is why Cosatu is in alliance with the ANC, so that we are consistent in terms of ensuring that the voice of workers is heard every day by the African National Congress, and that the African National Congress lives to its founding principles of being biased towards the working class. So we are consistent, we shall continue to do so, and we are calling not just members of the Federation Cosatu, but we are calling on all workers in South Africa to align themselves with the issues that Cosatu is raising, because the issues that we are raising are not for workers that are members of Cosatu. They are cutting across. Workers
and do you think that this is the right time for the strike, as the economy is currently struggling? I mean, it may be protected by Section 77 of the Labour Relations Act, and people can be dismissed for participating. And we know that the no work, no pay rule will apply in some sectors.
Of course, a strike is a strike because you withhold your labor and employer withholds the salary or the wages. It is a strike. But this is a protected strike, so no worker will be dismissed by an employer. But also, there is never a correct time to wage a struggle. Look, if we are going to say that, because every time Cosatu calls on action, the comments that come through is that, are you sure this is the right time because the economy is not doing well? We ask this question, whose economy are we talking about? Because the same reason that makes us to raise these issues, it is because the economy is not working for us. So what is the correct time for us to raise these issues? We have tightened the belt. Now we can't breathe as workers. And there is no correct timing for us to be able to raise these issues. We will continue to raise them. And we are saying to government, the fact that we have high levels of inequality. Recently, we have heard analysts talking about a wage gap that exists. Cosatu has been consistent in raising this issue. If you are going to say to workers, hold on, do not withhold your labor, do not go out on strike, do not raise these issues in this manner, whose salary are you protecting? Are you really protecting the migrant salary of a worker that is earning 3,500, which does not even take that worker back to work the following day? Workers in this country are working poor. They go to work, they earn a salary, but they are in debt the following day. They are unable to take their kids to school. They are unable to pay their debt. It's from hand to mouth. They are unable to sustain their livelihood, whilst those that are sitting in the boardrooms who do not wake up necessarily at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning to push the production are earning high above the inflation. You cannot even match what they are earning, the bosses, and they are the ones that continue to get the performance bonuses. They are the ones that continue to get the tap in the bag when they are paid over 2 million bonus for performance, and yet workers cannot even get a wage increase of 1,000 rand.
And just picking up on that point that you just made now, I mean, with the working class facing mounting social challenges, what's your reaction then to President Ramaphosa's decision to increase the salaries of all public office bearers by 3%?
We've always been against that. We continue to be against that. Cosatu has raised it. We have even raised it during the policy conference of the ANC. And we have always said to the president, do not take that move. Look, it is immoral. The reason that we're saying that is because the public sector have been on wage negotiations for far too long. Part of the 2018 wage agreement was taken back by government. It was not implemented. Secondly, workers had, Nihau in particular, had to wage a strike in the public sector for over 3 weeks, if not a month, because government was giving public sector less than 3% or 3%. And workers had to lose salary and wages in order for government to move to 7.5%, which, by the way, that 7.5% was taken away because the Reserve Bank increased the repo rate by 50 basis points to 7.5, which was almost cancelling what the public sector has received during that period.
Right.
And we are saying you are then giving, because a 3% to a parliamentarian is not the same 3% to a cleaner in Charlotte Maxeke Hospital. It is way too high. That is why we're saying it is too soon for them to be receiving such an increase.
President Zingiswa Losi, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, that is Cosatu President Zingiswa Losi speaking to us about Cosatu's nationwide strike against poor governance.